Hello, Priscilla. Um, I'm Star, and I first want to touch on the hero mentality that you mentioned. So, definitely, I agree with that completely. The US kind of has this like way of being infamous for like trying to do everything first, right? And I think when it's not in that case, I think that the US has a tendency to kind of trample over whoever it needs to, right? Like, in order to feel like they are at the same level. I don't know if that kind of makes sense. Like, obviously, modern day, it's not as bad as it was, like, in the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, right? Um, if you've taken, if anyone's taken any, like, history class ever during those, like, time periods, you'll know that the US has done a lot of shady things and really disturbing things. And I think, like, hearing you mention that hero mentality was, like, kind of funny because I didn't really hear that until I took a class last semester. And the teacher, he talked about that. And yeah, I think the US just has this, like, this way of, like, trying to be the best, even though, like, we're all just, like, there's countries, like, the US is just a country. It's not supposed to be, like, this, like, noble, grand, like, it's literally a piece of land that we call the United States. Like, it's crazy. But anyways, um Australia, I too did not know, like, at all, that Australia had anything to do with the moon landing. Mind you, I don't really look up, like, historical things, um, usually, but I never heard about Australia being a part of the moon landing, right? Um, and it's not even something that's come up in school. It's not something that, like, I don't think the average American does know. Um, and I think that's interesting because, like, it's just odd that, like, it's not more mentioned, right? Because you definitely, like, for example, in school, you learn about the moon landing. It's, like, very, very historically, like, important event that happened. So you just kind of learn about it naturally. But it definitely, like, it doesn't come as a surprise that the US, it's like, even though it's, like, taught, or, like, it's a historical, like, event, it's not something that, like, we talk about, like, in regards to it, like, also being like, the moon landing happened, a big part of it, or it happened because a lot of people's effort, right? But a lot of that was from Australia, and it's like the US, like, landed the first man on the moon, like, the US moon landing, whatever they call it. But no matter, like, what it is, like, how it's, like, mentioned, I don't think that it typically, is mentioned, like, with Australia. Obviously no one's gonna call it, like, the US Australian moon landing. I mean, they could. It, like, wouldn't hurt, but it's just, like, I don't even think that's, like, something that the US would consider, right? And maybe that's, like, kind of pessimistic of me, but I think it's just, like, it's definitely, I guess, like, I can't think of the word, but yeah, basically what I'm saying is I agree with you that they didn't give enough credit, and they still don't, because I'm pretty sure for years to come people will not know that Australia had a big part in why we were able to successfully, like, showcase the moon landing to, like, so many Americans. But the last thing I want to mention is I think when you were talking about the counterfeiters, the, like, adapt or die, I believe is what you said, like, mentality. And definitely, I've mentioned this in a couple, if not, like, every video, like, a lot of the like, response videos, or, like, where I'm just the one speaking to, like, about the two movies, like, comparing them. I mentioned a lot, like, about survival mode, which is basically like adapt or die, right? And I think that is a really interesting fact. And obviously, this is not a philosophy class, but I think like, a lot of what movies are tend to deal with philosophy concepts. Like, not every movie has science in it, right? You can find aspects of it, but not every movie has, like, all the aspects of certain subjects. But I think philosophy can kind of come up in almost every movie. And I think it, like, this idea of, like, survival mode, it's like one concept in itself, right? And I think that it's like, it's definitely not, like, I don't I don't know, I just feel like I don't think it's thought about enough, and if it is thought about by people, I think that it needs to be, like, more put out there. Like, it needs to be more spread. I think, like, philosophy concepts in general should be, like, more of a, like, a conversational topic, right? Because there is no, like, right or wrong technically in philosophy, I feel like. And so the beautiful thing about that is, like, you can talk about almost any subject and, kind of have, like, an opinion on it, but there is no, like, definite answer at the end of the day. And I feel like it should be more of, like, a conversational thing, rather than, like, a deep conversation, right? Because I feel like the whole thing about, like, morality, especially with the counterfeiters, it's like, what is it? Like, in a situation where it's hard to pinpoint how to have it, or, like, when to have it, when you're in this, like, survival mode, it's like, what can you, like, how can you really, like, decide what it is? But yeah, basically that just got me thinking about, like, what, the adapt or die, what you said. It got me thinking about, like, how people, like, in society, like, we're taught, to be good people, but it's like, how are we, like, as we grow up, how are we, like, taking steps to become, like, better people? And, like, what are those steps, and, like, why do we do that? Like, is it just because society's, like, oh, be a good person? Or, is it, like, deeper? Like, is it individually, like, you want to listen to your parents and they're like, don't lie, or whatever. Anyways, I could go on, but yeah, so that's pretty much all I want to say. Thank you.